When I returned from the 3-day livestock expo, my ranch looked exactly the same from a distance, but something felt wrong the moment I pulled up to the gate. The old gravel road that had cut through my land for decades was gone. In its place stretched a glossy strip of black asphalt that glistened like plastic under the afternoon sun, lined with fresh white curbs, decorative lamp posts, and even a small landscaped island with shrubs that didn't belong anywhere near ranch country. My boots sank into a thin layer of tar dust as I stepped out of the truck, realizing they hadn't just paved over my road, they had buried it. A letter taped to my gate fluttered in the breeze, smug in both tone and placement. It spoke of beautification standards and improvements for the benefit of all residents. Residents, it said, like I was one of them, like my ranch was under their control, like my land belonged to their paper kingdom of pastel houses and imported palm trees. They forgot one important detail. I wasn't part of their HOA. My land was private, 53 acres of real country sitting right behind their designer neighborhood. And that road, once gravel, now asphalt, ran entirely on my property. Still, years back, I had let them use it as a shortcut to save 5 minutes on the way to the highway. A simple handshake deal. No contracts, no payments, just neighborly goodwill. But the second I saw that asphalt, the goodwill died. The anger didn't come all at once. It settled slowly, heavy and cold, the kind that doesn't explode but sharpens. I knew exactly what they had done. Trespass, alteration, construction without consent. They thought I wouldn't notice or wouldn't fight back. Maybe they believed their suburb was swallowing the land around it, like ivy swallowing an old barn. Maybe they thought their rules mattered outside their fences. Whatever the reason, I understood immediately. They had opened a door they didn't want me to walk through. So that night, while the neighborhood slept comfortably under its decorative streetlights standing on my land, I drove my tractor to the road and bolted a massive steel cattle gate across it. 10 feet tall, thick as a tank hatch, locked with chain links heavy enough to tow a semi. By dawn, the shortcut they had stolen was completely sealed. The rage began before 7 a.m. A BMW screeched to a stop inches before the gate, the driver jumping out and yelling into the empty air like the asphalt itself owed him an explanation. More cars stacked behind him, horns blasting, residents gesturing helplessly at the barrier blocking their precious 5-minute advantage. I walked past them calmly, coffee in hand, and watched the realization ripple through them. For the first time, they were forced to drive the long way around. The phone calls started soon after. First, the HOA secretary, politely stiff. Then their lawyer, aggressively clueless. Then a board member trying to sound intimidating, but cracking under his own frustration. They all repeated the same demand to open the road. I repeated the same answer. It wasn't their road to begin with. By the next day, the HOA president herself appeared. The same woman who once stood on my porch begging for permission to use that gravel path. She came armed with a rehearsed confidence and that familiar pearl necklace she saved for confrontations. She said the road was now a public access street. I reminded her that paving something doesn't magically change ownership. She said I was violating neighborhood access rights. I told her neighborhood rights ended at their own fences. She tried threats. I already had the property survey, deed, and time-stamped photos ready. I'd also filed a property destruction complaint with the sheriff, a civil claim for unauthorized alterations, and, for good measure, sent drone footage to every local news outlet along with the story of how a suburban HOA paved over a rancher's private land without permission. The moment the footage hit the internet, the comments poured in, almost none in their favor. The residents inside the HOA started to realize they weren't victims of my gate, but of their own board. Their shortcut had turned into a 20-minute detour because their leadership had assumed they could take whatever they wanted. By the third day, the suburb was boiling from the inside. Social media groups exploded. Parents complained about late school runs, office workers about missed shifts, delivery drivers about the extra gas. They weren't angry at me.
They were angry at their own HOA, which had taken a private road and treated it as public property without thinking about consequences. The board called multiple emergency meetings. I didn't attend. I didn't need to. The pressure on them was volcanic. By the end of the week, the HOA finally caved. They came to my ranch with an offer to rip out the asphalt, remove the lamp posts, tear up their fancy landscaping, and restore the gravel road. They even offered triple damages for all the work they had done. I listened patiently, letting them sweat in the heat, letting them realize just how deeply they had miscalculated. Then I declined. I told them the asphalt could stay, but if they wanted to use it, they'd need to sign a rental contract. Monthly access fee, $4,000. Late payment consequence, the gate stays locked until the next month's check clears. They signed without arguing. They didn't have a choice. Their entire neighborhood had turned against them. But the real twist came after they signed. I'd been thinking about their arrogance, the way they assumed ownership over my property, the way they expected me to roll over. I decided a little more lesson wouldn't hurt. So quietly, without announcement, I built a second gate, farther down the road, past a bend where their residents couldn't see it until they had already driven in. Then I installed a remote system that controlled it. For the first 2 months, I let things go smoothly. Payments arrived on time. Cars flowed through. People thought everything was settled. Then one Monday morning, when they were already late for work because of a community meeting the night before, I triggered the second gate. Their cars got trapped between the two steel barriers like cattle in a chute. Not damaged, not touched, just stuck. They had no way forward, no way back, and no idea how it had happened. The panic spread fast. Dozens of cars pressed bumper to bumper, honking, reversing, shouting, sweating in the summer heat. I waited exactly 10 minutes before opening the gate remotely and letting them go. No explanation, no message, just a reminder that the land they trespassed still belonged to the man they underestimated. Now, every month when their check arrives, I take it to town and cash it with a smile. The teller always laughs because they know the story. The whole country does. And sometimes, just for fun, I take my tractor down their perfectly paved suburban boulevard, my boulevard, and watch the HOA residents slow down, straighten up, and pretend not to be nervous as I pass by. They wanted my road, they took it without asking, and in return, I took something far more valuable: their comfort, their control, and in a way, every car they owned, if only for a few minutes at a time. Their upgrade became the most expensive shortcut in the county, and I didn't have to lift a finger after the first gate. Revenge doesn't always require destruction. Sometimes it just needs a reminder of who the land really belongs to.